What is up, guys? It is the Sound Alchemist, y aquí estoy con el cabroncito, el macho man,
Gersh1. And this is for the
greater.
WAAAGH.
I usually say that,
Yeah,
but I
you
forgot
messed it
about
up.
it.
There's a silence.
Yeah, the cabroncito part threw me off.
There was silence, yes.
That's Miguelito speaking through me.
This is a video series where we answer the questions left by you, the viewer. If you have a question for us, comment down below, put a question in front of your question, because we get to those questions first.
That is what, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's pronounced Shinku Kiritu Ichika. His question is, what would things be like if the Imperium did not adopt the Latitio Divinatum / the Imperial cult as their religion? What if they know that the Emperor despises all religion, and thus they are following his ideals and not that of the Church of Lorgar, essentially?
Yep. So as a background, we're going to let you guys know, so basically the Imperium as it stands today is extremely dogmatic in that they believe that the Emperor was holy, like he was divine. And everything is for the worship of the Emperor.
Mm-hmm. Not worship, but worship.
Worship. And the Lectitio Divinatis is the Book of Lorgar, and the Book of Lorgar was something that the Emperor during the Great Crusade hated. He did not want it to happen. He believed in the Imperial truth. He believed that humanity should not worship any type of religion. He killed priests. He destroyed religions during the Great Crusade because he didn't want the same things that caused the great strife to happen to happen again. He fights Horus. He kind of wins, but then he's on the throne, so he has no power to tell all these people that they shouldn't worship him.
Well, I mean, he does, but he's not doing it for some reason.
Well, I don't think he does.
No, I think he should, because he can speak while on the throne. He could tell his custodes, the Sisters of Battle, Sisters of Silence, Gilliman, that, hey, like, religion is bad. Tell him to stop.
Well, yeah, but
he doesn't.
Well, maybe, because we don't know what he says. So he could say that, and then they're just, like, ignoring him. Because we don't really know. But anyways, true. So then what happens is the Imperial cult spreads. It's not exactly the Imperial cult that we see today. There's a lot of factions within the, I think it was called the Reign of Fire. But at the end of the Reign of Fire is when everything was solidified and the ecclesiarchy was formed under Goge Vandire. And then the Imperial creed was basically like solidified. And it was just one belief. And yeah. And the question was, what was the question?
What would happen if this never happened?
Oh, okay.
What if the Emperor's ways of being all about logic and being biracial actually flourished? Because logic is biracial.
Okay. So then what happened? So the Imperial truth would then stay within the Imperium. Would that mean that, like, the Imperium would be as technologically lenient as, like, the Tau Empire? No, I don't think so. And the reason I don't think so is because Mars wasn't like that. And Mars didn't really believe in the Imperial Creed. They didn't think at first when during the Unification War, when the Emperor tried to contact Mars, and Mars is basically just where all technology was, like, at its height, I guess. It was more technologically advanced than Terra was. But when he contacted them, they didn't even see him as like somebody who was worth worshiping until the Unification War happened and, like, the treaty was formed. Then they would start worshiping him. But on Mars, during the Age of Strife, people were still religious. So I think it's human nature to be religious. So I don't ever think that without somebody actually saying, this being the Emperor, without the Emperor being there to say, hey, believe in the Imperial truth, any one of the other religions would have taken over.
Yeah.
So the Lectitio Divinatis, I think, because it was Lorgar, because it was a Primarch, and because it was pushed by the Chaos Gods, took control of the Imperium. But if it wasn't for that, there'd just be different, like, religious factions spread out.
Right. It's like no matter what happens, there's always going to be some belief that eventually would create a religion over it.
Yeah, and you see that even in the Cult Mechanicus. So the Cult Mechanicus has different factions, and then some of them go towards like the Dark Mechanicus. So the Chaos Gods would always be influencing humans. Eventually, the Imperial Truth, even if it, even if like the Imperial Truth had an organization that like pushed the Imperial Truth, kind of like the Inquisition, which is the ecclesiarchy's fighting force, kind of. I don't think that they would have been able to defend against every single religious group that popped up.
Right. Do you think that the Imperium would be more divided?
Yeah, yeah. So the same thing as like Forge Worlds. If you play Skatari, you know that there's different Forge Worlds, and different Forge Worlds have different canticles, I think they're called.
Canticles of the Omnissiah.
Yeah. Then or buffs or whatever. Then the same thing would be for humans. So instead of so you would play Imperial Guard, but instead of having different Imperial Guard regiments, you have like different. You could have different Imperial Guard regiments, but then they would be based on like their belief systems, which would be kind of cool, I guess.
Right, basically holy warriors, each dedicated to their own religious beliefs.
Yeah, and then you could form your own religious beliefs. That would be kind of cool if GW took it in that direction.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Good question, though.
Yeah, very interesting. But I think no matter what, religion's gonna stem out somewhere.
Yeah.
Religion, finds a way.
Next question comes from Digital Sigma. How are Imperial Titans transported and moved between worlds? We talked about this, I think, in a couple videos in the past. But basically, giant drop pods for the like Warhounds and like the smaller Titans, and then the big ass Titans are just lowered.
Yeah, there's like a huge like machine that has like tethers, and they're dropped very carefully.
Yes. Next question.
This one is by Timothy Armstrong. So I bought scale mail salamander models that you told me about from 30K. Now, what type of paint would you recommend being best for them? So the salamanders, their motif, their theme is very green, reds. You see like the lava pattern, but it's best to kind of have some kind of contrast to it. Whereas most salamanders, they're from Nocturne, so you have like black and soot and stuff like that, as well as the lava. But if you wanted to be like a successor chapter or something like that, you could go with a scaled pattern that maybe it's based off of a frozen world. So you could layer it with like the white and have like, instead of lava, maybe have like frozen shards with like a light blue and go that route, or just stick with the regular old green and reds and oranges.
Yep. I just started a Khorne army for Age of Sigmar, and I wanted to be cool and like prime it white and then start painting my reds and stuff like that. And then halfway through, I realized this is dumb. I'm just gonna spray paint the rest of the army red, and then just like pick out the highlights to make it quicker. So what I would say is, if you are gonna build a big army, and you don't really care about like trying to make it, you just want it to be tabletop ready, then buy like a darker green primer, hit the whole army with it, and then do the little contrast like with the black, with the blues, whatever you choose.
Yep.
But just throw down like a dark green primer, so that you don't want to go like just green or like highlighter green.
Because I feel like that'd be too bright,
and then you won't be able to highlight or edge highlight any of the, or it'll be harder to edge highlight all that kind of stuff.
You could bring it down with like the known oils and like some type of shading or something, but it's more work and more to it. Yep.
Good question though. And then the next question comes from Pineapple. Favorite secondary character? Mine is Arjak Rockfist.
Yeah, he's very cool. He reminds me a lot of Thor. He can throw his like thunder hammer and retrieve it back. He's got a storm shield that's literally just a huge slab of rock, and he's like super huge. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Secondary favorite character? Ooh, that's a hard one.
For me, it's going to be Snickrot. So during Armageddon, I think it's the second war of Armageddon. No, it might be the first war of or the third war of Armageddon. But God School landed, and his whole army, it was made up of different clans, and one of the clans was the what is it called? The commando guys. I forget what they're called. Blood Axes.
Mm-hmm.
The leader of the Blood Axes, or one of the Blood Axe clans, was Snickrot, and he's basically just sneaking around in the jungles of Armageddon and just killing a bunch of humans. And he's built up a legend. When God School left, he stayed there, and he's still doing that. And his model's pretty cool. His GW model's pretty cool.
Yeah, I almost thought you were gonna say WAAAGH.
Well, he's not around
But he's not
anymore.
a thing anymore.
Mm-mm.
No. I guess if I had to pick a secondary character, it was Darkstrider. I was reading I forgot what it's called. Well, anyway, it's the book that takes place during the battle at Mugalath Bay between the Tau and the forces of the Imperium. And there's an assassin, a Vindicare assassin, that's trying to basically snipe out Farsight. But he misses, and now he's literally trying to run away from the Tau all around him. But as this assassin's running away, every shot is bringing down Fire Warriors. You see battle suits jump up to try to snipe him from the air, and they literally just come crashing down. With every shot, it's a kill until Darkstrider comes up, and he literally just starts shooting, not really aiming, but just shooting a barrage at the assassin. A few shots hit him, and the assassin falls. And it said that for 10 minutes straight, Darkstrider didn't stop shooting his pulse carbine until he was sure that the assassin was dead. So it's like this one Imperial assassin is able to take out pretty much a whole cadre of Tau. And he's so much of a threat to the Tau, like they literally don't know when it's safe to stop firing at this guy. So that shows you that Darkstrider is overly cautious, but at the same time, that kind of shows you the strength of the Imperium.
Yeah.
Yeah. Assassins are no joke. In the lore. In the tabletop,
They suck.
Yeah.
I've been trying to use Vindicare assassins forever, and they just suck.
The model looks cool. The lore is great, but on the tabletop, they're not worth it.
Yeah, they're not even good snipers. Next question comes from Demandea La Bird. He asks, would the Emperor be as strong as an old one or stronger? He would actually be stronger. So, like, the old ones were psychically powerful, and they were the first psychically powerful species. Yeah, like race. Because we don't know if it was like a multiple races built into one, kind of like a unified thing, or if it was just like one lizardmen type race. But anyways, they existed at a time where the warp was pretty calm. So the level of control was probably like lower for those people or those old ones. Whereas the Emperor, by the time the Emperor was around, the warp was already kind of like turbulent, and like Slaanesh might have already been born. I can't really remember. No, Slaanesh wasn't born yet, technically.
Technically, they were always around, and yeah, it's weird. Like, how do you have a birth if you're all existing? Anyway.
Yeah, but yeah, so it's kind of like players, like if you look at a sport, players nowadays compared to the players of olden day, most of the time, like it's the players nowadays, their level is just way, way higher. So I would say even like regular psychers for like Space Marines, like the Space Marine librarians, they're probably stronger psychically than the old ones. Same with the Eldar, because they fought during the War in Heaven. Yeah.
But yeah, and it's the same thing too. Like, as you tell stories, like over time things get exaggerated, and you kind of you exaggerate the truth. You stretch the truth out to make the story more grandeur and all that. So, unless you were there, it's kind of hard to know what's what. But yeah, I agree. Probably the Emperor is stronger.
Yeah. The last question is going to be from Noctis Lucius. How can Horus create a civil war if he is already controlled by the Chaos Gods? As you say before, once you go Chaos, there's no going back. So how can Horus create a civil war if he was already controlled by the Chaos Gods? So
he did. That's exactly what the Horus heresy is. It's a civil war.
Yeah, so the timeline of Horus is that he got injured on some moon, right?
I believe so.
And then the cult that was there told the sons of Horus, like, oh, we can save him. We just have to, like.
They were lunar wolves at the time.
Were they?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so they took him in, and then they did some spells, and that's when he was controlled by chaos, or he was empowered by chaos because he sided with chaos. And then once he was sided by chaos, then he started his civil war, and he started, telling his brothers, hey, like, fuck the emperor, come fight. So I think what you're saying is that why would any of the Primarchs side with Horus if he was already chaotic? And not all of them did. That's the whole point of the Civil War. Only like what was it, 9 or 8 of them actually sided with, or no, 9 sided with Horus, and then the others did not, and that's what caused it. And the Emperor saw that.
Yeah, I think because if you're referring to, since Horus wasn't himself, wouldn't it just be considered just a war? Because he's saying if Chaos is using Horus as his as a stand-in or whatever, then it's not really Horus doing the civil war. It's like
a god.
Yeah, it's like an outside force.
Yeah, so you don't actually get possessed. So you're not a demon host.
Mm-mm. He's just empowered by them, and they're constantly whispering to him. So they're kind of guiding him, but at the end of the day, he's kind of like in charge, if that makes sense.
Yep, same thing with Chaos Space Marines. So when you see a Chaos Space Marine army, those Chaos Space Marines still have their own free will, kind of.
Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like they're on drugs, basically. It's still them. It's still them doing all those actions. It's just that they are influenced now by this outside force, but it's not a possession. Those guys are called...
The possessed.
Yeah, possessed.
And that's literally demons using their body and morphing their body to do what the demons want to do.
Yeah, which is a pretty cool faction, or a unit. They have cool models, so check it out. But yeah, those are the questions for today. If you guys have more questions for us, comment down below. We do this 3 times a week. So if we didn't answer your question, try again. We're going to try to get through more questions, but at the same time still keep that one question kind of long to please everybody. But yeah.
This is the Sound Alchemist.
Gershwan.
And we're out of here.
Oh, what if you took my freedom back?